Ever feel like there aren't enough hours in the day to get everything done? What if I told you that by handpicking the right tech tools, working less could actually lead to more success? LaShonda Brown is living proof that it's possible. She's an award-winning tech educator, YouTube coach, and the mastermind behind Bootstrap Biz Advice, where she teaches entrepreneurs how to work less and live more by leveraging technology and YouTube. LaShonda is not only one of the first 25 Canva Verified Experts in the world, but she's also mastered the art of building a thriving business with just a 20-hour work week. Today, LaShonda is here to share how you can use tech tools and AI to boost your productivity, create amazing content, and finally gain the freedom to enjoy your life while growing your business.
Focusing more on how am I showing up when I do appear online was a really helpful challenge, because I think in the beginning I would beat myself up if I, missed a video. But when I did show up, it was a high quality, that was a better video for my audience than it would have been if I had just stuck with that posting schedule. Especially, people who are content creators, we fall into this routine of just doing what everybody else is doing. And you can watch when a creator is burnout. You can tell when they're not passionate or when they rushed it just to get that video out.
Today, we're going to learn how to grow your business with video content in 2024, how to leverage AI the right way, and how you can work less by choosing the right tech tools. Welcome to the Creator's Adventure, where we interview creators from around the world, hearing their stories about growing a business. Hey everyone, I'm Brian McAnulty, the founder of Heights Platform. Let's get into it. All right, LaShonda, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, my first question for you is, what would you say is the biggest thing that you did or you are doing that has helped you to achieve the freedom to do what you enjoy?
I think just giving myself permission. It's interesting to me how many people are stuck doing the same things they've always done simply because they don't think they have permission to change it. And so I think when I gave myself permission to challenge what was normal and do what I needed to do for me, everything changed.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I think it's something also that it's constant. Like, even though you've done that in the past, you have to remind yourself, or at least I found I have to remind myself sometimes that, you know what, I can change this, and just being constantly aware of that.
I think also finding excitement in change. I think a lot of people dread things being different because we've just gone through, especially the last few years, a season of unsolicited change. And so it's just like, you know what, I just want things to stay the same. I want stability. I want things to be predictable. But I think there is so much fun that can be had in switching things up. And so I enjoy it. I lean into changing things and experimenting because you really never know what's going to happen unless you try.
Yeah, it's great. So as someone who talks a lot about like bootstrapping a business and just bootstrap their own way to success with what you've done, what's some of the most significant challenges that you feel like you faced kind of early on in the stages of your business, and how did you overcome them?
I think redefining what consistency means was super important, because I think a lot of people, when they say, oh, be consistent, keep showing up, that looks like, the same old thing, weekly posts or, weekly live streams or weekly videos. But for me, it became more, when I show up, am I showing up the same way every time I show up? It might be every week. It may be twice a month. It could just be when I feel like posting. But I think focusing more on how am I showing up when I do appear online versus how often do I appear was a really helpful challenge, because I think in the beginning I would beat myself up if I, missed a video. But when I did show up, it was a high quality, 5 to 10 minute video that was a better video for my audience than it would have been if I had just stuck with that posting schedule. So I think that especially, people who are content creators, we fall into this, routine of just doing what everybody else is doing. And you can watch when a creator is burnout. You can tell when they're not passionate or when they rushed it just to get that video out.
Yeah, that's great advice. How can you fix that, maybe, if you feel like, okay, today I'm really not feeling it, and you skip that day of creating the content, right? But then do you have any tips for helping yourself get back to that level, or kind of performing at the way that you want to?
I think a couple things that you should do is, definitely create more than you consume. A lot of times what keeps people from, pressing publish is the fact that they're constantly judging themselves against other creators and their industry, just in existence. Like we can't all be Mr. Beast or else there wouldn't be a Mr. Beast, So it's just like if you're in that comparison loop, it's hard to feel confident enough to put yourself out there. So you need to be creating more than you're consuming other people's stuff. But you also need to be strategically unplugging so that you get inspiration from things outside of what you do. You can get inspiration from going to a museum, going on a hike, hanging out with friends. I think I see it happen too often that people's view of the world is so defined by what they search for on their computer and not the reality that we live in. You need to be where your feet are, not where your keyboard is. And so I just think that it's super important to, I even posted about it on LinkedIn today. It's like, you need to unplug for every 2 hours that you plug in. Because if you don't do that, what you're going to find is that you aren't inspired, you aren't excited, you don't miss what you do because you're always doing it. And so that balance is the easiest way to stay creative. Obviously, you can batch your content. So when you're not feeling it, you probably have something in the queue that you can just post. But I think on a deeper level, as people who are constantly trying to use their imagination and creativity, you need to recharge if you're a human being. And I think a lot of people act like they don't need that or are intimidated by their own capacity. And I think you just lean into it and say, look, like after I work, 20 hours, 30 hours a week, I got nothing left. And when you know that for yourself and you're willing to embrace that, when you do show up, you do have the energy to create and it's not as stressful.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that maybe we often tend to see like, okay, well, I have to do this. Like I can't take the time to stop doing it. But like the idea of going to recharge feels like, well, I'm not going to be working then. Like that's going to be a waste. How is that going to be helpful to me? But yeah, the inspiration that you get from that will allow you to create something better than just like the kind of same old thing that you just have to put something out. So I like that. And one of the ways I've thought about something similar was that, all right, if I'm going to work 40 hours this week or less than that or slightly more than that, whatever the number is, I think it's important to realize that like you shouldn't get too hung up on exactly how many hours you work, because when it's all said and done, like you are one person. And so you may be working as part of a team, you may be delegating to other people, but at the same time, it's like, would there really be a difference of the end goal that you're trying to achieve if you worked 1 more hour, 2 more hours, or 10 or 20 more hours? Or if you've set this constraint on yourself already to say, I'm going to work 40 hours a week or 20 hours a week, whatever your number is, why can't you just do it in a couple hours less? And I think that's been helpful to me when like I'll have a day and just everything goes wrong, nothing's productive at all. And just realizing, no, like it's okay, if I could do it in roughly this time in the week, then like I'll figure it out, and it wouldn't have made that much difference in the scheme of things.
Well, and I would also challenge you about the idea that nothing productive happened. I used to fall into that trap a lot, and there will be times where, I have a lot of things that are still on my to-do list from last week, and, I intentionally let them roll over. And instead of saying, oh my gosh, like, today's not productive because I'm not able to accomplish the thing that I put on my arbitrary to-do list, it's like, well, what can I be productive at? And if being productive on that day looks like I'm doing my laundry, I'm picking up my groceries, I'm going for a walk and getting steps in, it's like, we can always be productive at doing something. We decide what doesn't count. And so it's like, if your brain is like, I don't have it in me to create today, I don't have it in me to do accounting or marketing or whatever. Well, do you have it in you to vacuum your floor? Do you have it in you to meal prep? Do you have it in you to go to the gym? Like, I'm sure there's something that you can check off the list. And so just giving yourself that grace to say, okay, well, maybe my body's fighting, being sick, or my allergies, or I have a migraine or whatever, and I'm not able to show up like I want to, but like, what can I do? And allow yourself to check those things off the list. That's another way to sustain yourself, because I think, again, we get in this habit of like, this is what success looks like. This is what productive looks like. This is what a work week looks like. And when you put all those constraints on yourself, especially when you're the one running things, you find yourself working for a job you hate and you're the one that created it. And so I'm just constantly challenging my friends to be like, no, like, you have accomplished something amazing. You are a productive person. You are, providing products and services that people need. I want you to see yourself the way that I see you. And so I'm always like that person. I'm like, no, I don't think that's true, because we hear that so often from corporate and from society and all these norms, and we don't live in a normal world anymore. So we don't have to define ourselves by norms.
Well, and that's one of the amazing things of being an entrepreneur. You don't have to say like, hey boss, can I please, you know what, I'm not feeling it today. I want to do some different things. It's not going to be on the schedule. You can just do it. And then you are your own boss. So
yeah, we forget that sometimes, but you don't have to ask, Mr. or Mrs. anybody, just do it. And it's fine.
Yeah. So video is a big part of your business, from your YouTube channel to the live workshops that you host. And you have another company, Life Focus Pictures, where you produce promotional content for clients. Why would you say that video content is so important for creators today?
Well, it's obviously important enough for every single social media platform to integrate at this point. Even platforms that had a completely different purpose. Instagram was supposed to be for photos. Twitter was supposed to be for text. They all include video. So it's obvious that people want it, or they wouldn't have developed it. But I think on a deeper level, video content allows you to simulate a face-to-face interaction. And as much as we enjoy reading stuff or looking at pictures, there's something powerful about being able to see another human's face, which is why personally, I'm not like a huge advocate of faceless content. I know lots of people do it. But people want faces. They want to see the person that they're hiring on the internet, so they feel like they're hiring a human and not just a logo or a website. And so I just think it's so important for everyone, no matter what industry you're in, to figure out, how can I leverage video? It's not if, it's just how. Is it live video? Is it pre-recorded? Is it short form? Figure out what works well for you, but understand that we now live in a society where this is more of an expectation than ever before. People want to feel a connection with you, and it's very difficult to have that come across with just a photo or just text. So I'm a huge advocate for it. I love YouTube. I think it's a wonderful platform because it's a search engine that allows you to be social. So all the drama from other social platforms don't seem to exist in that ecosystem. So I think that's great. But, use what you want. But in terms of the value of video, the value is there. You just need to leverage it to help build your brand.
Yeah, I like the comment about the faceless video, because I see a lot of course creators kind of not necessarily like hiding behind that, but like worried or uncomfortable with the idea of showing their face. And they think, oh, I heard about there's faceless video, I can do something with that. I don't have to show my face. I'm not like a performer or a video person. Like, no one wants to see me. They do want to see you, actually, and they do want to talk to you. So there is a lot of value and power in that, even if you aren't like a video personality in your own mind.
Well, and I think it's a skill set we can learn, and you don't have to be on camera forever. You know, when I started on YouTube, I didn't show my face because I was, nervous about it. But as soon as I started showing my face, at least at the beginning and end of my videos, I noticed a huge uptick in views. And so it was obvious that people wanted to see who the voice was. And so I think, even if you feel camera shy, you don't have to be on the whole video, but just establish who you are, say hello, say goodbye. I mean, I think that's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that as a way to kind of get started with it. Any other strategies or kind of tips you would recommend to an entrepreneur to produce either getting started in video content, or if they're already doing it, like how to make their video content better?
Yeah, I think you just got to do it, and you got to be comfortable sucking in public. I think there's kind of this perception that like, I want people to see me fail. I don't want people to see me bad before I'm good. And it's like, well, you just don't want to be in business then, because that's just what you got to do. You got to put in the reps, just like anything, you know, any muscle has to be strained to be strengthened, and it takes time. There's no shortcut. People can give you little tips. Of course, you know, when we would do all these interviews for our commercial video content, you know, I had things like, if you hold a stress ball in your hand out of frame, you can squeeze on the stress ball. It distracts you enough to not be as stressed on camera. There are tricks of the trade. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, but at the end of the day, if you're doing video more often, you're going to get better at doing video, and you're going to be better on camera. And so I would just encourage you, if you feel like you're not where you want to be, then maybe create video content in a forum where you have a smaller audience. Maybe, you know, you go live in a Zoom call with a couple of your friends, you know, you go live in a private Facebook or something. But at a certain point, you just gotta be bad before you're good. Everybody anywhere has to do it. And so getting over that part and embracing it. If you misspeak, if you know, have a hair out of place, if you get lost in your words, own it. Because eventually you'll realize those things that you're so afraid of make you human and make you more relatable. And so when you can kind of lean into like, oh yeah, I'm human. Oh yeah, I suck right now, but I'm going to get better. Then you will get better a lot faster.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that to add to that, when you first try to make those videos, you can't spend forever trying to make it perfect, because it's still not going to be. It's still going to be bad. And the way to make it better is just to keep doing more and more. And on one hand, if you're afraid that like it's so embarrassing of how bad it is, first of all, probably no one's going to see it because it's just not going to be very good. But second of all, maybe people do see it, and maybe it is good, and maybe it's better than you think, and people will actually continue watching it, and they are getting some kind of value from it. Like, I know I have content that I produced a while ago, and I feel like so embarrassed by it, but like people still watch it sometimes, and it's helpful to them. So, okay, well that's good, but you have to keep practicing it. It is like a muscle, like you say.
Yeah, and I think it's just super important to remember, like, worst case scenario, just mark it private later. You know, there's some videos that just aren't relevant anymore. Now they're old, so there's that too, but like they're just not relevant. So I just marked them as private. Like, it's okay. You post something, it bombs, you can archive it. You can mark it private, but don't let that keep you from trying.
Yeah. So your YouTube channel, Bootstrap Biz Advice, has more than 30K subscribers. What are some strategies you use to kind of like grow that from the ground up?
Yeah, I think when you get started, and you know, there's multiple schools of thought on this, I think you have to lean into the fact that it's a search engine. You know, you've got to understand YouTube SEO and really try to create content that solves a very specific problem, so people who don't know you stumble across you just because they typed in the keyword search terms. Eventually you're going to get to a point where you can get beyond just SEO heavy content, and you can focus more on personality driven content, serving your subscribers and your community. But when you're starting from scratch and nobody knows who you are, you know, you vlogging your life when you're a complete stranger, no one's going to care. You know, so you've got to do something to give them a reason to be there. And so you can leverage SEO. You can also leverage trending topics. You know, something happens in the news and you want to give your hot take on it. Well, people are going to be looking for that subject, and they may stumble across you because of that. But otherwise, I think that, you know, the strategy over time has changed, and even the tech tools that are available have changed. There's a new one that I'm utilizing called Hype HQ, and it's a community of women who are helping to amplify other women's content. It didn't exist when I started, but now that it's there, I've used it to help boost engagement and views on my content. So tech tools are going to come and go, and sometimes you can leverage them, you know, like a vidIQ or a TubeBuddy that can help you with your SEO. But I think ultimately you have to be willing to, you know, kind of pay your dues with, okay, the purpose of this video is not, you know, to look amazing. It's just, I need people to watch, you know, and so how-to videos are going to perform very well on YouTube. But don't rest on that. Don't stay there, because eventually you'll need to transition to more personality-based content so it's not so transactional with your audience. So it got me started. It helped me become a Canva Verified Expert and get on Canva's radar. But we do a lot more different things on the channel now than we did when I got started.
Yeah, so you're an expert in using all these different tech tools to kind of solve problems and simplify business in a way. Any hot takes on AI and how that is going to kind of shape the future of content creation?
I love this conversation because people make so many assumptions. They assume that because I'm a tech educator that I love AI, and I really don't. I really don't. And I think the reason why is because I think the vast majority of the people that leverage AI are utilizing it to remove the humanity from their content. And people want you to be more human, not less human these days. So it's almost like you're hurting yourself by allowing bots to pretend to be you in the LinkedIn comments, because we can tell from the usage of the word innovative that wasn't you. And then you see the stream of other comments that have a similar thought-provoking response, and you kind of go, man, like, I miss the days when people responded to posts. But I do think that automation and leveraging AI is a powerful thing for the mundane tasks that you have in your business that you can delegate to them to free yourself up to lean into the things that only you can do. That's how I view AI. I don't use AI to write my emails. I don't use AI to write my posts. But when it comes to scheduling appointments, when it comes to sending out invoices or things like that, like, those are the types of things that I want to see people leveraging technology for. Not to replace your creativity, not to remove your humanity from your marketing content. Because at the end of the day, with all the noise online, your unique brand voice is what's going to set you apart. And to sacrifice the uniqueness of your voice for the sake of an AI tool is missing the mark in my mind. So I'm not anti-AI. I'm just anti how 90% of people use it. I'm sick of seeing the same captions on Reels. I'm sick of seeing, bots respond to comments.
Unleashing the transformative way to change your content.
I'm like, that's not what I'm about. But I will tell you, you've got tools like ManyChat making Instagram useful again. And it's like, wow, like, because I've got this chat bot, I can post content and drive traffic off of Instagram with more ease and help my customers because they can respond to comments faster than I can. That's a great application of a tech tool. But it's like, I'm not using tech to write my captions. I'm not using it to choose, what clips to stitch together to make a reel. So, like I said, I'm not anti, but yeah, especially when it comes to copywriting, I'm like, we can tell. We can tell. Well, who are you fooling?
As the founder of an AI software platform, I think you actually completely hit the nail on the head about the idea of people missing the mark in writing the content, because we get, like, I guess about every day, somebody emailing us and saying, okay, you guys have Heights AI and you are a course creation software. So is it going to can I make the course, have it make it for me? And we tell them, like, no, you don't want to do that, because, like, the value of the course is, just like you said, your unique message and unique experiences. That's why people are buying it. And so if it's a ChatGPT course, then it's the same as everybody else's ChatGPT course, and you could just go and ask ChatGPT that, right? So it's really important to use it as a tool to augment what you can do, not replace your actual creative message and experience.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Augment it, not replace it. So good.
So how about using AI to grow on, like, a platform like YouTube? Anything that you found where you are using it, where it's been helpful for you?
Yeah, TubeBuddy. I'm addicted to TubeBuddy. I think that it really has helped me to understand how to get my content in front of the right people And so whether it's, helping to score my title or score my description, I think tags aren't as important as they used to be, but it's really helped me to see, I think this type of video would perform well. And then I'll put it in the keyword explorer and I'm like, oh, I was wrong. And so instead of spending a lot of time creating a piece of content going in the completely wrong direction, now I have almost this, co-producer for my content to say, okay, I have so many things I could share, but how should I position it in such a way where the right people find the right content? And so I think that's a great way to use tech to help grow on YouTube, is to leverage something like a TubeBuddy that's actively, not just scanning your content, but what people are searching for on YouTube in general, and helping you to gauge, is this on track or is this not?
Yeah. Yeah, I think even just AI and other tools aside, I do like YouTube as a platform because how transparent it makes it for the creator of like what you can do to improve. And like, even though Google's the same company, like you write a post or a page on your website, it's like, how do I get this to show up in Google? And it's like, okay, it's showing up. Why isn't it showing up higher? And like, you don't know how you can make it better. But with YouTube, you get to see like where people are coming from, that they find your video. You get to see the retention and everything. And you can realize like, oh, you know what? Like this, I'm not doing as good in this video as this one, or this one's really standing out. And you can kind of figure out what you can do to try to improve in that next video. Whereas with a lot of other social media tools, I feel like it's a lot more like hidden of what is actually going to make the difference to make something better.
Well, it's so freaking volatile. I'm not, well, no, I should say that. I am anti-Instagram in a lot of ways, and I think part of it has so little to do with the tool, but it's what's happening behind the scenes. I feel like the constant changes put people in a situation where they can't sustain good strategy. So people are literally just throwing things against the wall because you can create a strategy based on advice from a month ago and it not be relevant a month later. And I'm like, YouTube has been pretty, yeah, it can be completely, YouTube is steady, it's not changed that much over the past decade. But when I think about Instagram over the past, I guess they're at least 10 years old at this point, I'm like, what we used to do on Instagram is like a completely different app, where it was like photographers sharing their photos and people sharing, their lives and, photos from vacations and things like that. It's like, even the concept of like taking a selfie, like that's an Instagram thing, to be so self-focused that you're taking a picture of yourself instead of taking a picture of an experience or with other people. And so, I just think from a methodology standpoint, it's totally different. People on YouTube are either entertaining you or educating you. On Instagram, it's like, we don't know. We don't know why they're posting, but they're posting.
This is a great example for if you're watching or listening to this right now and you have been kind of apprehensive about video content. I hope that this is a reason for you to maybe look into something like YouTube, because I'm sure like if you've been posting on Instagram, like you can relate to what you're hearing here. And like even the example of like when Reels first came out, right? We'd be posting these photos and it's like, okay, we're getting all these likes. And then one day it seemed like overnight, no one's liking any of the photos anymore. And then it's like, oh, well, and no one's liking the videos anymore either. That's because it's all just Reels content now. And like Instagram's algorithm changed to like prioritize that because they knew that that would be big. But they didn't tell creators that really. So it was very kind of hidden towards what do I actually do here and what's working and why did it suddenly change and who knows. But
and I think
YouTube
thing
is definitely
too,
more
like
consistent.
from my video background, I think it's hysterical the fact that things have kind of regressed so much on Instagram that now we're considering B-roll footage with text on screen as a video. I'm like, man, what a weird time to be alive. You know what I mean? It's a screensaver with text. It's not a video. So it's just like, it's very interesting to me. Instagram is a necessary evil, I guess, but
yeah, and
I like DMs.
Yeah, is the B-roll with text, is that actually more entertaining to watch or look at than like a really well done or well taken photo? I don't think so, but but that's how it's working, it seems. So, on another topic, you often talk about working smarter, not harder. So, what's one habit or strategy that you feel has drastically reduced your workload while helping you to drive results?
Yeah, I mean, I think, oh man, there's so many things I could share, but I think trying to get more leverage out of what I was already doing was huge for me. So every Monday I go live on YouTube at 10 o'clock. And the reason why I do that, number one, it helps me remember that like YouTube is my job. So it gives me a place to like show up at the beginning of the week. And I'm like, oh yeah, this used to be my hobby, but it's like a real job now. So it helps to like tether me down and be like, okay, start the week. But then also it gives me an opportunity to market my offers in a very chill, relaxed way to new people and then engage with my community. So instead of me doing a whole separate office hours call inside my membership community, I'm like, y'all know I'm going to be on YouTube Monday at 10. If you have a question, ask me on the live stream. Just ask me. And so now I'm able to market and serve my members at the same time. So where it would have taken me 2 to 3 hours, now it's 1 hour. You know, then I've got one of my editors can take content from that live stream, trim it out, repurpose it, and turn that into a feed video. It can be a trailer for a live stream roundtable. It can be a standalone video on my feed. And so I use that Monday at 10 as an opportunity to keep my page active. That if I am slammed, if nothing else, I will post once a week by going live, and then I optimize it after it's over and I'm good to go. And so I think taking that pressure off myself to even have an edited video every week and just learn to increase the quality of my live streams, I'm able to get that, consistency without ever having to edit anything myself. And so I think that was just like such a game changer, and people enjoy it. We had a great time this morning. And so I just realized, I'm like, yeah, I have more room to do more thoughtful, deep focus work because I get it out of the way first thing in the morning on Monday morning. And now I have, more hours to dedicate to other things later in the week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really great. And I can think of like other ways that's even helpful than from what you've mentioned. So you've got your existing audience, you're helping them. You've got potentially new people finding you and other people who maybe are not your customers yet. They can tune in and learn from you, and they get to see your audience who purchase from you, and they're like, oh wow, should I become like a part of whatever's going on here? And then you also have for yourself like the feedback loop. So you might start talking about something, your audience comments about something, and you realize later on, I got to make a whole video about this. And then that turns into more content for you. Whereas if you didn't do this at all, then Monday is like you're sitting there, what do I do? How do I come up with content? And it's so much more challenging. So yeah, you're giving yourself at least that, and then that can kind of both feed into what you do later, plus provide you, now you've got this time for more creative freedom after.
And I think honestly, it's so fun because again, I get to get those reps in, Yeah. It's like, okay, it's helping me to become better at speaking because I go live every week and I talk for an hour. It's nuts. But every week I do an hour-long live stream. Then I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I'm done. And so Monday's like my CEO day. And so I do, check in with all my team members and make sure we're on track. And then I just do those errands and those things working, in my business that I don't get to do that often. And then, starting Tuesday, then that's when I do my meetings and film and all that. But nobody likes meetings on Monday anyway. So the only people I make meet with me are my team members, and they get paid. So like they're good. And so then we move on. It's great.
Yeah, that's good. So community seems to play a pretty big role in your work. And I know now you've got this app too. So can you tell a little bit more about like how building this strong community has kind of influenced both your business and your personal growth?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that we don't feel alone when we start to show up online. It's so easy to be like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to a camera. Nobody's talking back. Like, this is the worst. You know, it sounds cool at first until you're stuck staring at a screen and you're like, man, I miss the people. And so, you know, I try to create spaces where like-minded people can come and share and collaborate. And so, you know, I created the spaces that I wanted to occupy versus complaining about what didn't exist. And so that's kind of what fueled the app. But then also, you know, I started to realize, I'm like, you know what? I can better serve my community by leveraging my other community, you know, to educate them. So I bring in other educators. And so now instead of my monthly workshops being, oh, here's LaShonda making another slide deck, I just co-facilitate. I sit back, you know, I run the show behind the scenes and I let my friends teach on their subject matter expertise. And so all of a sudden, instead of having this pressure on myself to be a jack of all trades, I'm like, no, I am not an expert in everything. Let me bring in, you know, a friend who's good at marketing experimentation, a friend that's good at pricing strategy and AI and YouTube SEO and all sorts of things. Now my members can get a more well-rounded education because you've got specialists, you know, doing very targeted workshops versus me being a generalist and just checking the boxes. And so, you know, I really enjoy those calls and I leverage tech to keep them engaging and fun. And we have like commercial breaks and live polls and music. And I mean, I just do everything I possibly can to make those calls a place where people enjoy coming back to, like that monthly waypoint to say, okay, let me get inspired again to keep creating. And if I can do that, people will, you know, stay members, my churn will stay low, you know, retention will be great. But at the same time, they'll get the outcomes because they actually want to watch the call replays if they don't make it live, or they want to carve out the time to attend and be in the room. So it's, to me, it's like, it fuels me and it gets me excited about what I'm creating because I know for a fact that it's impacting lives because they talk back to me. And they only talk back to me because I create spaces where they feel like their opinions are welcomed. So it's just been a huge change for me versus, you know, just being the tutorial lady. Because there was a time where that's what I did, but I'm like, you know, this isn't sustainable. Like I can't just, you know, record my screen and hit publish and stay happy with what I'm doing. And so the missing link was community. And once I started leaning more into that, I'm like, no, dream job. I could do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that because I agree. And I think that community is such a powerful and valuable thing to add to your offering, not only because of the value it brings your customers, but like you said, it's like, this is the place you want to be. And so it's an enjoyable thing to do, an enjoyable thing to work on. And I like your approach to the workshops too. That's how I do it with my business as well. Bring other people in, and I love going on the workshop calls, and I learn things as well from everyone we have on. So, yeah, that's great. I've got one more question for you, and that is that on the show I like to have every guest ask a question to the audience. So, if you could ask our audience anything, whether something you're curious about or just want to kind of get people thinking about, what would that be?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the 20-hour work week, but I see a lot of people not doing it, even though I know it's a super effective thing to do. So I would say my question for the audience is, if you are not working a 20-hour work week, what is the number one thing that's holding you back? Because I am going to be working on a challenge. And so I really want to hear that perspective of like, what is it? Like, why won't you do it? Why won't you take the leap? So I'm not sure where this is going to go afterwards, but like for real, tell me, what is holding you back from giving up on 40-hour work weeks and embracing the 20?
Awesome. All right. Well, LaShonda, thanks so much for coming on the show. Before we get going, where else can people find you online?
Yeah, so I'm definitely on YouTube, Bootstrap Biz Advice, and you can watch my videos and give it thumbs up and not skip ads. That'd be awesome. But if you would like to be a part of the community that I was describing, you can go to bootstrapbizadvice.com. So that's where we take what we do on YouTube to the next level, and we'd love to have you.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks again.